back to The World is Storytelling with me, Ronni, and this time we are still in the Lake District and we're with the wonderful Amy. Now, thank you for bearing with the podcast as we make our way into the winter and when everything else slows down and the winter gets grey and wet and all of those good things. The podcast does too. I don't know where this train of thought is going. Now, on the topic of this week's guest, which subject in science is the most hip? Geology, because it rocks. Or something like that. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful, wonderful day. So tell a story, one that is true. Yeah. Hello. And welcome to The World is Storytelling again. Yes. And who are you?
So I'm Amy, and I am spending my summer working in YHA Helvelyn, a youth hostel tucked away in the Helvelyn range of the Lake District. Yeah, it's a really magical place, and it's got a really interesting history. So we're tucked away in a mine called Greenside Mine. It's an old lead mine that's been going for hundreds of years. Closed down in the 50s, I think, although don't quote me on that. And this building is the old mine manager's house, and it was also, so one half was where the mine manager lived and the other half was the kind of administrative buildings for the mine. So this was kind of the mine centre of power, this building, which means it's a very well-built stone kind of cloister tucked away in the mountains. In a valley that Wainwright described as hideous. But in deference to him, it would have been a lot more of a scar back then. Kind of nature's been able to take over quite a bit since mining finished. So it's a lot wilder now than it would once have been. So his comments may have been fair in his day, but I don't think they any longer hold. My anti-Wainwright agenda is coming through far more strongly than I expected.
I think this is amazing. I mean, for the listeners who probably won't get to hear what we first recorded, Amy has mentioned your attempt or your aim to...
Yeah, so for those of you who aren't familiar with Alfred Wainwright, he basically wrote the book on the Lake District. He wrote a series of amazing... I'm going to give him his credit. He wrote amazing walkers' guides to the many fells of the Lake District, which has kind of led to a bit of a cult, whereby a hill in the Lake District isn't really a hill unless Wainwright decided it was a hill, and people choose to bag hills called Wainwrights, which are any hill he wrote about, or fell, given that we're in the lakes. But he also had a lot of opinions about a lot of parts of the Lake District, and about individual walks in the Lake District. And also he was just a bit of a grumpy old white man. So I've kind of spent this summer, so I moved up to the lakes in March for this summer job, kind of just trying to walk as many of the hills he disliked as I possibly can, because I think they're all beautiful, and the ones he disliked are generally the less travelled ones, which means I can usually find a bit of quiet and tranquility on them, as well as, there's no ugly view in the Lake District, I don't think.
No, there really isn't. There really isn't. I mean, this is the child mind in me, but you did say that the fell that you like, that he dislikes,
Bath.
Is called Bath.
Bath, I love Bath.
Yes.
I would die for Bath. The first time I climbed Bath, it was a week like this, so we're currently in the middle of one of the Lake District's beautiful rainy seasons, which happen most of the summer. So it's been basically constantly raining all week, and I climbed Bath for the first time on a week like this. So the path up to the summit from Bicentenary Lake was basically a waterfall, and I was just walking up against it the entire time. And I was like, why am I doing this? And then I got to the top and there was a rainbow and the most glorious view. It's quite a magical place. There's a white kind of stone carving thing midway up it called the Bishop.
Okay.
And the old tale goes that a bishop was once drinking at the pub down by the water and made a bet that he could ride a horse up the front of Bath, which is basically a scree slope, so no one was getting up it. And he died on his ascent.
Oh, shit.
And that's why there's a monument midway up it. And you can see it if you're looking kind of up towards Bath from Bicentenary Lake. There's a really obvious kind of white monument midway up it, and that's the Bishop. Ultimately, Wainwright didn't like that hill, and I love that hill. I think it's a really great hill. And so, yeah, so at that point I was kind of like, I don't think me and this man agree on much, so I'm just going to take everything he dislikes and try it. Although that did lead to me almost falling off Red Pike the other week.
Oh, why?
Because he was like, this path is rubbish. And I was like, I'm sure this path is great. But actually, the path had basically eroded away, and I was scrambling up the front of a hill.
Oh, no.
So actually I should maybe learn to listen to him in some areas. He's an authority on walking, but maybe not on views, is what I've decided.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Lake District, whilst it is a place of much stability, like the mountains themselves don't change, the valleys do.
Yeah.
The valleys, especially living here for the summer, in this valley in particular, because the location of YHA Helvelyn is so rural, we're kind of tucked away in a valley pretty much on our own.
Yeah.
I have to walk up and down the valley anytime I want to go for a swim or to go to the shops. And you really see how much the valley changes over the course of the year. The colours change, so it's very green, it's a very green valley, but early in the season it's that kind of really juicy lime green, and now we're nearing the end, it's kind of becoming a deeper, richer, more browny green, and I've kind of been watching that transition happen, and it's been really special actually, the kind of sense of being in a place and it kind of nurturing you and you watching yourself grow and the seasons change and it all happening together is really quite special. But yeah, to give Wainwright his dues, the Lake District is a place of change, and it has changed a fair bit since the 50s and 60s when he was writing his books. There are lots of kind of roads less wandered here for sure, and so that's really special. And also we were discussing earlier that Ullswater is the best lake in the Lake District, and I'll broach no argument on that.
I mean, it doesn't sound like anyone would want to argue with you. It seems like you well, for many reasons, but particularly about Ullswater, it sounds like you swim in there a lot.
Yeah. So I think, so I'm autistic. And I find swimming for me is amazing for sensory reasons. So just kind of, it gets you away from noise, it gets you away from kind of like many overwhelming situations. There's always peace and calm to be found in the water. So even when I live in a city, the swimming pool is my escape. When I live here, even though it's very quiet, it's very peaceful, the lake is still my escape. It's where I go for that kind of comfort and that feeling of safety. And the thing we were discussing is that Ullswater is such a special lake because it has so many different views. Because it's a bendy lake. It's got 3 kind of corners, and around each of them is something completely different. So this morning I was swimming kind of at Glencoyne and looking down the valley towards Patterdale and the Kirkstone Pass, and it was looking really beautiful in the sunshine, resplendent. Whereas some days you want something a bit cozier. But yeah, it's a wonderful place.
Yeah. Myself and my friend, we just 45 minutes before this recording, we went into the lake. Same lake, went to Ullswater, and it was beautiful. And it was
nice and cold. Everyone tells you it will be at its warmest in September, but that's not accounting for 3 weeks of torrential rain.
Right, exactly. The amount of water flowing into that lake is great. It's fantastic, but it's definitely burst its banks a little bit.
Yeah, we have evidence of that down in our beck, just out. So down the back of the hostel, we have the Glenridding beck, which definitely rises and falls very quickly. It's a very kind of flashy catchment. So when it's been raining a lot, on a day like today, you can hear the river from basically everywhere in the hostel. Whereas in the summer, it can be down to a trickle some days. It's always flowing, but it can really reduce its flow. And those are the best days actually when it's running low, because there's so much more scrambling you can do around the beck. So sometimes when I walk down into the village, I'll come back up via the beck. just to mix it up a bit. So you just kind of climb up, and that's really fun. But maybe not on a day like today when it's going great guns.
When you said the term flashy catchment, I obviously know what you mean geographically, but I'm just imagining now a catchment basin with, I don't know, gold bling in its teeth or something. Yeah, I'm a flashy
catchment. Strobe lights.
That's it, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's actually quite tranquil out there.
It is a very lovely, lovely place.
Yeah.
Talking about swimming and talking about that feeling of coziness, of home in the water. Where's somewhere when you think of, or an experience, a moment when you really felt embraced by the water and by swimming, and also, or as well as up a hill?
Ooh. Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
So my family are from the west coast of Ireland. They're from a little village called Kilcar in Donegal. And so that was kind of my childhood, especially like even as I got older, it would be a lot of my summers, we'd go back to Donegal. And it's kind of, it's not really my home. I haven't lived there. But it is kind of, it's where I can trace my family back in a graveyard for hundreds of years, right? It's where all of my cousins live, and it is a landscape that really speaks to me. And it was, my childhood summers, we swam in the sea. That is what we did. So there's a little bay at the end of the road my grandparents lived on, where, and I just thought nothing of going into this white sandy beach, this gorgeous white sandy beach, and just lobbing myself into the Atlantic throughout the summer. And now whenever people ask me, how can I cope with the cold water at Ullswater, I'm like, I grew up swimming in the Atlantic. Like, this is baby mode, this is bath water. So I'd say actually kind of Towny Bay in Kilcar is definitely, that's my home body of water. If I had to yeet myself into any body of water, like if I could just be transported there, that's where I'd go immediately. Swimming in the sea is definitely a very different experience to swimming in a lake, but they both still have that same kind of comforting feeling of safety. And I know swimming in the sea is dangerous, and obviously if you're going to swim in the sea, do make sure you have someone with you and you're wearing your toe float. But I find like that kind of embrace of the water to be something that's just really key to getting through it, to getting through anything, right? It's my safe space. But yeah, and the hills of Donegal are kind of, they're my childhood right there. And it's also, I don't know, I just kind of feel like my blood's in that place because it's such a deep familial connection that, I just kind of, whenever I go back, I'm like, oh, this is where I was meant to be. And my parents raised me in Southampton, so on the south coast of the UK, and I loved it. But I was like a weird little autistic kid who loved mud. So I never really, I don't want to be like, oh, I didn't fit in. I had friends, I was happy, but I never found myself there. And it wasn't until I moved away to like hillier kind of places that were more reminiscent of Donegal that I started to be like, oh, maybe this is who I am. And I chose to come to the Lake District and to do this job because I'd spent 3 years working in Leeds. That position ended, and I was kind of, I'd had a bunch of job rejections because academic precarity is its own thing, right? And you just kind of have to get through it. But I was done. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was like, where would I like to be? And all of the, well, not all of them, but most of the YHAs in the Lake District, they're live-in positions. Yeah. And I was like, I want to go. I want to be out of the city. So I was like, I'm going to the Lake District. So I applied for this job. It was the only one I applied for, and luckily I got it. And it's amazing how quickly just being somewhere that fits can kind of heal you. There's a book by J.L. Carr called A Month in the Country. Do you know it?
No, I don't. Tell me.
Okay, so it's a book about a soldier with shell shock who comes back from the war. And I can't remember why. I think he might need to restore... I haven't read it in years, you can tell. It might have been to restore a mural or something. But anyway, the idea is he goes to this small Yorkshire village. And one of the lines is, Oxgoodby's just about ironed you out. So it's this story about how being in this place can heal you.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that's what this summer has been to me. Like Helvelyn's just about ironed me out. I'm kind of getting back to who I'm meant to be after a really difficult couple of years.
Wow. That's so lovely. And yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I think the thing this summer has really reminded me is that we do actually have the agency to change our lives and to do things that are maybe not the best things for our career, like taking an 8-month break from academia maybe isn't the best idea as an early career researcher, but also...
I think it's the best idea to be here for 8 months.
For sure. And I think it's given me a whole new perspective on the kind of academic I'd like to be, and the kind of person I want to be beyond my career, right? The kind of life I want for myself, which is one full of like quiet reflection, because it's something I need, and it's something that I realised I wasn't giving myself any of.
Wow. That's really powerful, and I wish you lots more beautiful swims and amazing places of quiet reflection. Going from quiet reflection to something quite different. I mean, the beautiful thing about YHA, which for listeners not perhaps in the UK or haven't experienced it, the Youth Hostels Association, which have a network of wonderful hostels all around the UK. I don't know if, I don't work for the YHA, but that's true. It's everywhere, isn't it? And they're always really, really lovely old characterful buildings and people, but you can rely on the standard as well. I've often find, you go to hostels in lots of different places and you've no idea really what you're going to get, whereas YHA, there's a certain standard you're going to have. You also meet a lot of characters. Can you tell us a story from this summer?
Oh God, I can tell you so many.
As many as you like.
This hostel is just about on Wainwright's coast-to-coast path. But we also get a lot of families who are amazing, and they're trying to bring their children a new experience. And the great thing about the YHA is we always try to keep it affordable. So yeah, it means we get all sorts through. So we had a group a couple of weeks ago who were cycling. So one of the gents had lost his partner to cancer.
Oh no.
And they were doing some fundraising for Macmillan, cycling between his rugby club in Scotland and her old rugby club in South Wales.
Aww.
And they were doing that cycle as a group of 4 of them to remember her. And they were doing an amazing job. And yeah, so they stopped in, and it was really nice to speak to them about why they were doing it and how adventures like that can be healing, because they can bring you a connection kind of through that grief. So we have people doing things like that, and we have people who are just coming to here just to walk Helvelyn. So from families to people on wild fundraising adventures, we kind of get it all here, and that's what we're for, right? It's to provide people with those opportunities.
That's really amazing. And perhaps to ruin the mood, I'm sure you get some odd stories as well.
We certainly do.
Can you share any of those?
I probably shouldn't, but I will. My personal favourite was the morning one of my colleagues came down and a gentleman took him to one side and was like, I hate to be a bother, but another gent in my dorm was stroking my foot during the night.
Oh no. Oh dear. Shit.
And I think dorm rooms are amazing. They're like the best way to meet people when you're traveling, right? I will so regularly walk into a dorm room, immediately make a friend and go to the pub, right? I think they're an amazing way to travel. But obviously you are ultimately sharing a room with a number of strangers.
Who may have, yes.
Yeah, but very rarely. That's actually my only mad dorm story of the summer. But yeah, it can happen. This is a bit dark, but
I love that. Let's go dark.
I have always struggled hugely with depression. Like hugely. It's just been a really defining part of my life that I'd rather not have had to deal with, but you know, it's the hand you're dealt. And I kind of always suspected I wouldn't make it to 30.
Well.
So it's really dark, but I think my biggest boast is that I am still here.
Wow.
And I am still living a life that is full of wonder and beauty and new experiences. And yeah, like, if I'm being truly honest, that is my biggest brag, is that I have just kept going and I haven't given up yet. And I still have dreams and ambitions, and I think I'm going to try and achieve them and not give up.
Wow.
So yeah, that's my brag. I'm still here.
Wow. And we're all very happy that you are.
Thank you. This has been a joy.
Thanks for sharing. And thank you for being here, and thank you for an amazing stay which you and your team were part of.
Yeah, no, it's a really special hostel, and I would encourage anyone who can to come visit.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Oh, it's no bother. Thank you.
Hello again, and just as I was about to publish this episode, Amy got back in touch with me with a slight update. I'll let her explain herself. Here she is.
Hi everyone. I'm sorry I'm a couple of months late with this one. I've been back in Southampton the last couple of weeks visiting my family, and the other day I took the family dog Albie, for a walk along Western Shore, so one of the gravel beaches that line Southampton Water. And Albie and I were walking along this beach, and I saw this object on the horizon. There was this kind of strange frisbee shaped thing that's getting bigger and bigger, and I couldn't really figure out what was going on, and then it hit me. I'm sorry, that was really bad. I hope it was worth the wait, and I hope everyone's doing well. Cheers.
Some say the old ruins in the sand tell us every story will come to an end. But my dear, we can live what we tell. We are storytelling animals.